Greetings folks, this is the Ritewing Zephyr Z2 wing from Multiwiicopter.com. 1.4 metre wingspan, brute of an FPV wing. Designed to have a hulking big motor on it, big standard size servos, thick cord, that's probably 2.5 inches, 5 centimetre maximum cord, heaps of area in here for your gear, big aluminium motor mount there, balsa ailerons. This is a serious wing, built for high speed and decent range. It has 4 fiberglass spars which go top and bottom. In the slots provided, they have to be cut to length. It has 2 carbon fibre spars, and it looks like the channel is deep enough to take both the spars, so I'm pretty sure both of those crossbars get glued into that channel there. We also get Coreplast hatch covers, Coreplast winglets, and there's a little Coreplast camera box for the front as well. And we get some laminating film, because this is, I think it's EPO foam, so it needs to be laminated and have decent spars for the strength. We have sort of big knobs of moulding marks in there which have to be sliced off and sanded down smooth before we start gluing things together. So you just need a sharp blade to slice off those moulding knobs and then a little bit of a sandpaper wipe to smooth it down. Now I'm cutting the slot to mount the motor mount into. Just cut a slot about 12mm or less down from that flat surface there. Slice it with a knife and just test fitting that big thick aluminium motor mount now. Make sure it fits in properly. Now I've got to cut the fiberglass spars to length so they fit in those spar channels using clear quick grip, which is a contact cement. Even it out, pop the spar in and then pull it out again and just let it dry for a couple of minutes, then pop it back in. Glues in very nicely indeed. I'm using the same quick grip to glue the 2 halves together. Same thing, cover the surfaces, pull it apart, let it dry a bit, and then put them together for a nice quick bond. Now I'm using polyurethane glue like Gorilla Glue for the main spar, and that needs a little bit of moisture, so a bit of a spray. Pop the glue in the spar channel and then sort of wipe out as much as you can, because this stuff foams up. So just sort of scrape out a fair bit of it, pop the spar down into the channel, using a screwdriver to push it all the way down, because there's another spar that has to go over that. Now I decided to do a bit of masking so that polyurethane glue doesn't foam up over the top onto the foam. Second spar on, in, push it right down, and I'm using pins to hold it down into the channel because the glue will push them up out of the channel if you're not careful. Same glue on the motor mount. Make sure you mount that up the right way and make sure it's centered in the slot. Gives a nice strong bond. And the fiberglass spar goes in the channel over the top of those carbon fibre spars, so that's why you need to make sure they're pushed right down into the channel. Use that quick grip glue again for that. There's some of the polyurethane glue that foamed up. Have to slice it off and sand it down, make sure everything's level. Now to fill up all these spar channels, I'm using this lightweight spack filler, or lightweight spackle, or whatever you can get your hands on. And you just sort of squeegee it into whatever dings or spar channels that you need to fill up. Scrape it off. Does a good job without adding much weight at all. Sand smooth very easily after about half an hour of drying. Now I'm cutting slots for the servo cables to go from the cutouts into the gear bay. Making sure that all fits nicely. Servos fit perfectly in those cutouts. Now I'm mounting the GPS for the Air 3 iNav, which I'll fit later on. Slot for the cable, knife around the edge, the shape you're going to cut out, and then use a Dremel tool or something like that to shave out down to the depth that you need. Dremel's a great tool for this. I've taken the cover off the GPS too, so the hole doesn't have to be so deep. Now just checking out how the batteries are going to fit in. I've got two 3000 4S batteries, and I want to get them as far forward as possible, so I'm going to mount them sideways, which means I'll just cut out a little bit extra from the battery bay there, so they can be right up near the nose. I'm also cutting out the floor so that I can mount them sort of deeper down so they don't poke out the top so much, and gluing in a Coroplast cover over the bottom. This will all be laminated over, so not too worried about losing strength by doing this. Just hot glue. Now for the eventual position that the receiver will go into out on the wing, to keep it well separated from the FPV and the GPS and all that sort of stuff. Now the battery cable going back to the ESC, and to keep that as far away from all the gear as possible, I'm passing it underneath and up into a hole into the battery bay. That just gives it an extra couple of centimetres of separation from the delicate flight control board and that sort of stuff. Cutting a slot to bury it down into. One of the challenges is to try and get the power wires, noisy power wires, away from the delicate electronic stuff. Hatch covers are just CA glued in with a bit of a hinge cut. Now this is the FPV transmitter out on the other wing. Again, dremeling out to the depth that you need to bury it in. Nice little pagoda antenna. I haven't used these yet, but they look nice. Now I'm trimming the elevons to shape, trimming off the ends and sort of tapering it a bit towards the motor end. That seems to be what everyone does, so I'm going to do the same. Bit of colour, just to make it nice and visible up in the sky. My favourite pink and the old black stripes just on the right hand wing. You want to make sure those paint sprays are as light as possible too, otherwise you'll sort of start dissolving the foam. Now I'm laminating the elevons with that nice thick laminate that was provided with the kit. Just a matter of cutting out a shape slightly larger than what you want to cover and ironing it with an iron set on about half heat it is. You certainly don't want it too hot. Start with it down at about third heat and then maybe turn it up if you're not melting the glue quickly enough. Now for the wing, a bit of a wipe over with a damp cloth just to get rid of any dust and stuff. I'm doing a test run on a piece of spare foam just to make sure that I'm not going to melt the foam with the heat of the iron. When you're happy with that, you can get onto the wing. So you sort of do this in 4 sections, one for each top and side of the wing, and you really just start in the middle and sort of iron your way out to the side. Keep the iron moving all the time. You don't want to sit still on a piece of foam for too long because you'll melt the foam and you'll be disappointed. Once I've sort of tacked it down, then I can trim it a bit closer to the size that I want the laminate to be. Just going to fold over the leading edge and trailing edge by a couple of inches, and you need to sort of cut out around corners and edges and things. Folding it over, you want to make sure you don't actually rest the iron on the raw foam or you'll melt it. And you just sort of plug away at it nice and slowly and it comes up very nicely indeed. Folding around the edges as well. And sort of, it's a bit fiddly to get into the dips, but with the edge of the iron you can do that too. Now the other side, and it goes over the painted areas beautifully, makes them nice and bright. Now for the top, same deal, just a piece that's slightly larger than the wing, and you're going to fold over. And this is the center section, and another piece for the center section as well. And there it is, all laminated up, looking beautiful. Very happy with that. I didn't use any spray to start off with, I never do, and I never felt that I had to. Now mounting the motor. It's a bit fiddly to get these bolts in because the ESC and the body of the wing is in the way, so you need to use one of these little right-angled Allen keys. Now I hadn't at this stage glued the servos in because I need to sort of centre them up and work out how long the servo arm needs to be. Once I've hinged the elevons, I'm just using a bit of fibre reinforced tape and then heavy duty packing tape top and bottom, and that makes a really nice durable hinge. Now the control horns, these control horns aren't anywhere near big enough. You need really big control horns, twice the size of that, otherwise your throws are going to be too big. But I swapped later on to some bigger control horns. Setting the length of the push rods, threaded rods sort of glued in with epoxy to the end, and more epoxy and a bit of heat shrink just to stop splitting of the carbon fibre tubes. Now I can fit the servo arm. You can see those big servos have enormous throws, so you really need to reduce the mechanical leverage as much as possible. Bit of hot glue to hold them in, bit of tape over the top. Cutting out a little bit more foam for the movement of the servo arm. CA glue for the front hatch, which I've extended a little. I recut a hatch for that, so I'd cover the cutout bits. Bit of extra tape. And see there the bigger control horns, and I've actually drilled a hole closer to the centre of the servo arm too, just to get that mechanical leverage down as far as I can. Bit of fuel line for extra security on the clevis. This is the little camera box, which I probably won't use, but I'm just showing how you can put it together using hot glue. This was designed for a GoPro up the front, which I probably wouldn't put on the front anyway. I'd be more likely to use something like a run cam or a Mobius. Neat little box that would work well, I imagine. These are the landing skids. Just hot gluing them together, 2 on each set. And that just gets glued into the front of the wing like that, and you would sort of cut out a fair bit of foam to fit that box in there, but I'm a bit reluctant to do that. I'll decide what I'm going to do with that a bit later on. I might just sort of cut out a bit of foam to pop the FPV camera and the HD recording camera in there as well. Now to glue these landing skids on, I'm actually removing a little bit of laminate so I can glue straight onto the foam. Gluing onto laminate isn't very clever. Bit more hot glue for the winglets, and I didn't laminate over the wing ends. This is so that I can glue directly onto the foam itself. I think that gives a better strength. These things are sort of disposable anyway. You can knock them off and re-glue them on quite easily. Now for the motor, these beautiful Aeronaut folding props and spinner setup, really good quality stuff. This is a little prop stopper to stop the props sort of folding back and overlapping too far. Screwing the nut on. That little prop stopper, you need to shave it down to the right length as well so that the props just don't overlap. Fitting the spinner, and we are just about ready to go. Final touches. Lovely CarbonBird stickers. Really like these CarbonBird stickers, they're great looking. Now checking the CG, and it's 230 to 240 millimeters back from the nose, or what is it, 9 3/8 or 9.5 inches. And I needed those 2 big batteries, the 2 3004S batteries plus a 2200 3S to get it to balance nicely. that will adjust when I put cameras on the nose, but all up weight was 2.3 kilograms. So this is the Ritewing Zephyr Z2 supplied by Multiwiicopter with all the beautiful CarbonBird gear, and it's ready for a maiden. So in the next video we'll take it for a fly. Thanks for watching.